right, everybody. So take a look at the sheet that I just gave you. Okay, everybody's looking? Okay, so let's see what's happening here. We have, we're presented with two different functions here. F is solid, and then the G function is dotted. Okay, that's only just to differentiate the two. So it's not dotted because it's not included or anything like that. It's just, I mean, if we could print in color, we would have just made them different colors. But anywho, so these are random functions. We don't have an expression that represents them, but what's so neat about this is that we can still use these values, use the graphs that were given, and we can go ahead and answer these questions down below. So let's try one of them together. If I wanted to find the value of f of 1, everybody tell me what they think just this is. What is f of 1 equivalent to? Yes, if you follow the graph, right? So the solid is the f function. At 1, its value is -1. Do you see that? So f of 1 is -1, and we're just going to add to that g of 1. So what is the g as best as you can approximate? Yeah, I would say -4.5. So that's all we have to do here. If I wanted to evaluate graphically, -1 plus a -4.5 will get me a -5.5. So if I were to combine those two functions together at 1, that's what I would get. Okay, so go ahead and try the second one. You're going to figure out what f of 2 is, figure out what g of 2 is, and then you want to subtract those two this time. We'll see if we all match. Do we have an answer? For number 2, what'd you guys get? We're sure? 4. Why is it 4? Because remember, when you have minus a negative, doesn't it turn into -2 plus 6? So yeah, check your work on that one. That's going to be a positive 4. Okay, go ahead and try 3 and 4. Three and 4, everybody. 3 and 4. Okay, do we have an answer for 3?
Yep.
Henry, go ahead. I agree, 12. And Katie, 4. -1 is correct. So does everybody agree? Let me show you the numbers again. Hopefully on this one, when you found f of 3, it should have been -2. G of 3 is -6. When you multiply them together, you get a positive 12. And then over here, f of -1 is a positive 1. G of -1 is a -1. Divide the 2, we get -1. Now, 5 through 8 looks a little bit different, but it's actually just the different style of notation, ladies. It really means the same thing. So this See how number 5 is written f plus g of -2? It's the same thing. You're just going to go ahead and take -2, plug it into the g, plug it into the f, and you're going to add them together. So if you wanted, you could write that it's the same thing as doing f of -2 plus g of -2. Same thing, just a different style of notation. So try 5 through 8 if you haven't already. Double check your answers with my answers. Bless you. What I should do is I should throw in random wrong answers and see if you catch them, but I don't think I did. I'm curious how many of you have -3 for number 6.
I'm positive.
Bless you. I bet there's someone out there with a negative, but be careful, right? Minus a
No, I
negative.
don't. I literally just said I.
You have 0 minus -3. So it should come out to be a +3. Okay, so easy enough so far? Any questions? Yeah? No? Easy? The graphs really aren't so bad, so. All right, now let's go ahead down at the bottom here. We are supposed to graph these things. All right, so first thing you want to check when you are graphing any sort of combination is what's the domain of these things? They both share the same exact domain. They both go from negative, I don't know what this is, maybe a -8 to a +9 or something. There's no, we'll do some examples where they don't overlap completely, and then we need to be considerate of the different domains. But here they all have the same values, okay? So basically what you want to do is anytime you see a dot or a change, if there's a change in one of them, I'm going to need to figure out what my new point's going to be. So let's see, we're going to start all the way back here. What is this point? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's a -8. So for on number 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So here's sort of where I'm going to start. I'm going to work from the left to the right. See if I can get my graph and the one. Okay, that works. So all I need to do, I'm adding these two functions together. So if I add together their values, this one is at 0, this one is at -0.5. If I add them, where am I going to end up? If you add 0 and -1/2, you end up at, so there's going to be my first dot. My next dot is going to happen right here. This is at negative, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so if I add, I have a +3 and a -3. If I add them together, I end up with 0, right? So at -5, my next dot will be at 0.
Did you say -1/2?
No, I didn't. I said -1.
Oh, I don't think I heard half.
If I did say that, I didn't mean to. Okay. Now at -3, we have another dot. Let's see where we're at. We had +3 and a -1. Added together, we end up at 2, +2, right? Wouldn't it be +2? I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you can see my dots better. Actually, I might as well just zoom it all the way. So you have the graph in front of you. There we go. Okay, so there's mine so far. What am I at now? So see how at -1, there's a dot on G, but there's not one on F. I still want to do it. Anytime one of them has a change, I want to evaluate at that point. Okay, so at -1, I'd have F is at +1, G is at -1. So add those two together, what do you get? 0. So at -1, I get a 0. Okay, and then at +2, let's see, I've got -2 and -6, so that gets me -8 is correct, all the way down there. And then we do it again for, what's that, 5? 5 would be the same thing, right? And then one more time, is this +9? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, it is. So it looks like I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 4 and -4. So if you add 4 and -4, you get 0, right? Now, all I have to do to create my added function, I'm just going to connect them one dot at a time, moving from left to right. And there you have it. Isn't that neat? Yeah. So now 10, it's the same idea, we're just subtracting. So be careful, go slow, because you gotta watch minus a negative turns into plus. So we can start with the first one together maybe. At least I'll get you started. So let's see, if I start all the way back here, -8. So I'm going to be doing, and then order matters, right? So I always want to be taking the F function and subtracting the G from it. So I want to do 0 minus -1. Where do I end up? +1. Then at -5, I've got 3 minus -3. 6, yes. -3, I've got 3 minus -1. And then remember, you do want to evaluate at -1, even though F doesn't have a dot there, it doesn't matter. One of the two has a dot or it changes, you want to evaluate at that point. So -1, let's see, I have +1 minus -1. So isn't that really 2? +2, let's see, that would be a -2 minus -6. So where does that land us? 4, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. This next one should be constant, right? All the way until 5. Oh, almost too far. And then for my last dot, 4 minus -4 really ends up at 8. And that's all the way up here at 9. There it is. Now just connect with a nice straight segment between each of your dots. And you just subtracted. Huh? Huh? Okay. So let me give you the next sheet I want you to try. Any questions so far? You feel all right? This isn't too bad? Good. What's the one I wanted? Hold on. I thought I was going to do a different one first. Yeah, I think I want to do this. Yes, this one. Okay, everybody, I want to sort of check in and see how we're doing so far. Okay, so. All right, so let's take a look at 1 through 6 here. So there are my values.
Oh my God.
Double check that we got the same thing. Any questions 1 through 6?
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Number 3. It's definitely above 0.
So F is at, oh, I see what you're saying. So you assume that that point right there is, that's fine, yeah. The other thing that I assumed was the G function right here at -3. Guys, can you listen for a second? So I did, you might not have, I had just assumed at -3 that the G function was +1. I mean, it does look like it crosses a little bit above. So if you had like 1.2 in there or something, that's fine. Okay, but in general, did we get about these same values? Any questions 1 through 6? Now, I actually didn't realize that there was one like number 8 on there. So let's talk about, did everybody get 3 for 8? Oh, you did? Oh, you guys, look at you, just knowing what to
Pretty
do.
self-explanatory.
All right, so let me go through it, just in case you didn't get it. So when you have something like this, again, I'm going to start with the G function and I'm going to evaluate it at -1. So if I look over at my graph, I want the G, which is dotted, right? At -1, its value is 3. So I'm going to take that and put it into the F function. So that means, ladies and gentlemen, I want to see what's the value of the F function at 3. So I go to my F, which is the solid. I go to +1, 2, 3. Its value is 3. That's where that came from. Okay, are you guys listening? I feel like we're not paying too much attention right now. So we got 3 for that one. 9 was sort of a more straightforward one like we had been doing. Let's do 10 together, shall we? All right, so guys, can you please? It is so tiring to talk over you. Thank you. So we're going to do G of -2. So here's what we do. I take -2 and I evaluate it on the G function. Okay, I'm going to go to -2, G function. Its value is 3. So now when I'm going to take 3 and I'm going to evaluate it at the G function again, because we're putting G inside of G. So G of 3 is actually 1. Did anybody get +1 for number 10? Oh, good. So if you were a little stumped on how to do 8, 10, 11, 12, that's on me. I didn't realize that these were on the front too. That's kind of what the back looks like. So let's again, I'm going to do 11. So I got to figure out F of -5. So that's going to be a +5, which means that's now the value I'm going to find in the F function. Go to +5 and it is a +1. And then the last one, oh boy, you got a couple of hoops to jump through, but no big deal, we're fantastic. So the G function of 0 is 3. So I just figure out what the value of F is at 3, +3, and then I figure out what the G function is at +3. I end up with a +1 for that one also. Nice. Okay, 13 and 14 were just like we had practiced together. So you're trying to add, first we're adding those two functions and then we're subtracting those two. So double check me, because I just did this right as you did too. So it is possible that I made an error, but I think I got them. Do you have graphs that look like mine? Do we stray anywhere? I didn't have a copy of the key for this one, so just want to double check that I did it correctly, but I think I did. Okay, remember you want to pay attention to anytime one of the two functions is changing. So if there's a dot on either of the functions you want to evaluate. So just be mindful of that. But were these all right? Okay, and then 15 and 16 were just transformations like we've been doing. You're just going to deal with the each function individually. So this particular one, you got to remember to factor out a -1. So you really are going to have, so you have this negative on the outside, which tells you you're going to multiply your y's by a -1. You've got this -1 on the inside. Once you pull it out, that's going to multiply your x's by a -1. But now once you pull out that -1, you see that that's actually a +1. So we're shifting the whole thing left 1 and down 2. So hopefully you took that F function and did 4 translations to it. Y's times -1, X is divided by -1, move the whole thing left 1 down 2. And then you get something that looks like what I have there. Thoughts? We're okay? Yeah? All right, and then the last one now, just be careful you're dealing with the G's. You've got a -2 inside your parentheses. So that means I'm going to divide all of my x's by a -2. Dividing my x's by -2. And then this -2 on the outside, shift the whole thing down 2. Okay, so questions on the front. We're feeling okay with graphing? No problems? Are you sure? Okay, it makes me very nervous when you have no questions, but I know you are. I tell you what, because this is not the only section of Algebra 3. And I'm like, I don't know, all these kids seem to know what they're doing, so. We're exceeding expectations. Like, anyway. What are the grades in at Hogwarts? Exceeding expectations is one of them. But what's the top one? It's just outstanding? I don't remember. All right, so let's look at the back. So the back, we're doing exactly what I just started talking to you about on the front. So for number 1, I want to imagine you don't see this answer yet. So pretend that's not there. I want to figure out, okay, well, what's this value? If I go to my G function at -2, so G at -2, that's going to be a +2, right? You see that? So that's what I want to plug into the F function, is a +2. So if I come over to my F graph at +2, its value is 3. You see that? That's how this is working. So you try number 2 without, pretend you don't see what my answer is. You want to start off by figuring out, all right, what's the value of my F function at -2? Then take that value and put it into the G and see where you end up. You got an answer for me? Number 2. It is -4. So let's go through that in case you didn't get it. So first I have to figure out this, the innermost piece, right? So I want to go to the F function and see the value at -2. So F function, the value at -2, oh, is 0. Okay, cool. So now all I need to do is go to the G and see what its value is, add 0. Drop it down. Yep, I get -4. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's how these work. And now that's not the right thing. I'm on the fence on what to do here. What'd you say? All right, I'm fine with that. So let's finish the back for homework. That wasn't what I was going to give you, but I mean, I guess that's fine. What? I would love that, actually. All right, so I will just say what I was gonna do for homework. Tack that on to tomorrow, I think. All right, cool. So let me know if you get stuck. So many of these. I don't know. You just stop this video.